Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is FPL Elma, and today we're going to be going through a different style of video. We're going to be going through the under the radar players. This is like a differentials video, but not a differentials video. So we're going to be using stats from last season, and also going to be putting players who I think are going to have a wonderful season compared to last season, and some of the players who I think are going to be exceptional as well for their teams before because of the new systems and the new managers coming into play. And of course, these players are also have a very low ownership in FPL, and that's why they're going under the radar, if you know what I mean. But before we get into the video, still aiming to get 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So if you're new around here or if you're a regular viewer and you want to subscribe, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave a like, make sure you hit that bell on the video, you don't miss any content going up on the channel. Without wasting any much time, let's get straight into it. And before I forget, if you want to join the leagues, the links are down in the description. So make sure you go check that out. Make sure you join the leagues to have competition. So the first player I'm going to be going for, who I think is very under the radar, is Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle with an ownership of 1.4%. I'm able to see his stats. He's managed to start. He started all games in the league last season, all 38 Premier League games, scored 135 points, managed to get 5 goals and also wanted to get 6 assists. But the thing that I think, the reason I think he's going under the radar is because of his low ownership at 1.4%, obviously, and also with the introduction of defensive points being introduced into the game. Bruno Guimaraes he's a box to box, so he does get a lot of attacking returns and also get a lot of to do a lot of defensive actions. That's why I've gone for him in the team because I think he's going to be able to get more than 135 points because he did get 11 GA last season and added on top of that 11 GA. Imagine now him with those clearances off the line and those things, defensive action that he's going to be able to be doing for Newcastle as well. I think he's going to get a lot of points, more than 135, and that's why I think he's going a bit under the radar. And I think he's definitely one to watch out for, definitely one to bring into the team. If you're looking for a solid CDM to be able to get both goals and also both defensive action. That's one of the players I'm looking at. And now let's look at the next one. So the next player I'm looking at is Kevin Shad from Brentford. He did start 26 games last season, 149 points, managed to get 11 goals and 4 assists. But I think his season was a bit overshadowed by Buemo and Huisa, who managed to score exceptional numbers last season. And with Buemo leaving the club, with Huisa potentially going to be able to leave the club, and Brentford losing the likes of Nogard as well, I think Shad is going to have to step up into to be the main man for Brentford. I think it's something I'm able to do because he did get 11 goals last season, which is I think very exceptional, very wonderful season. That's why I think he's going a little bit under the radar because the season he had a very wonderful season with an ownership of only 2.2%. He did score a lot of goals in a very good attacking side, of course, with the likes of Wisa and Buemo. You're going to be able to get a lot of rebounds, a lot of assists from those two players. I think he's someone that can be able to step up and be able to uh, get those goals for himself, able to make chances for himself. That's why I've gone for him. That's why I think he's a little bit under the radar, considering his last season stats. It was very amazing. For some of the games, Brentford games that I managed to watch, he looked very good. And that's why I think he's going under the radar. And it's someone who is also on my radar for a cheap differential to be able to have in my team. So that's the second player. Now let's look at the third player. So the third player who I think is going very under the radar is Ismaila Sarr from Crystal Palace. He did manage to start 30 games last season, and then he scored 149 points, managed to get 8 goals and 7 assists. He's only 2% owned at the moment, at the time of recording, of course. But I think he's going under the radar because he had one of the best. He was one of the best players for Crystal Palace last season. I think alongside I think it was Mateta, then Ismaila Sarr and then Eze, but of course Eze was a little bit injured throughout the whole season. But I think Ismail Assar is going under the radar, and people are going to the Eze bandwagon a little bit too much compared to going to the Ismail Assar bandwagon. But I think he's also going to have a wonderful season on the 25-26 season. I think he was very instrumental, especially in the FA Cup run for Crystal Palace. Of course, the slight question mark is with how will they be able to compete in being in playing 2 games a week. Of course, with them being in Europe at the moment, don't know how they're going to navigate that. But I still think Ismail Assar is going to have a wonderful season. That's why I've gone for him, yeah, as one of the players who's going a little bit under the radar. But that's the third player. Now let's look at the fourth player. For the fourth player I'm looking at is Brennan Johnson from Spurs. Of course, with him, there are slight asterisks. But before we get into the asterisks, let's look at his last season stats. Wanted to start 24 games, 137 points scored, got 11 goals and got 6 assists, which is very, very wonderful. I didn't even know that he managed to get this kind of start last season until I looked at it. He had a very wonderful season last season, and of course scored the winning goal for the Europa League final to give Spurs one of their first trophies in I don't know how many years. He was very, very good in that Europa League run of as well. And now that they have Thomas Frank in there, and now that they have Thomas Frank in there, maybe he can be used in a similar role as Mbuemo. Maybe he can be used in that kind of similar role, able to get same attacking returns because he was playing in a very poor side last season with no real identity to the team. But I think with Thomas Frank, they'll have that identity, and if he can be able to captivate this chance they're going to be he's going to be given, I'm sure he's going to be able to perform. So that's why I've gone for him as one of the players who's under the radar. And I didn't even know he was top goal scorer for Spurs last season. I must be wrong in that. I mean, that might be a wrong start, but he did manage to score a lot of goals and only at 3.1% ownership. I think it's someone that people should be looking at. Of course, there's an asterisk with Kudus coming to the team. Is Rena Johnson going to be phased out, or is Kudus Jones going to be starting? So there's a lot of things to look at before the start of the season. But I think Brennan Johnson is certainly going under the radar this season. For the next player, who I think is going under the radar, and I'm sure many people are going to disagree, is Gabriel Martinelli. I myself am not a Gabriel Martinelli fan, but I think this season is going to be one of the best. It's one of his best seasons, especially with the outside rumors of getting what's it called, a replacement for him, the signing of Madueke to kind of give him competition. He's going to pull up his socks and I think he's going to be able to perform. Not the best season last season with 8 goals and 4 assists. Of course, he's capable of getting a little bit more compared to what he got last season. 25 starts, 125 points, only 8 goals and 4 assists. Currently at 1.4% ownership. And I've been looking at a lot of people drafts this season, and it's lacking a bit of Arsenal players in there. Not going for Arsenal defenders, not having Saka. I don't know if it's the lack of trust in the Arsenal players. But if I want a cheap uh, Arsenal attacker, I look at someone like Gabriel Martinelli, who I think is going to be starting on the left for quite a few games, and Madueke is going to be mostly impact player off the bench for either Martinelli or Saka. They have Trossard as well, who can be an impact player. Also, I've gone for Martinelli as one of the players who's under the radar, as I think he's going to have a very good season. So that's the fifth player. Now let's look at the sixth player. So for the sixth player, that is where I've gone for players, not judging them on their previous season because, of course, Foden did not have a very good season last season. He managed to get 10 GA, but from what we expect from him, he did win the PFA player, the season before last season during the PFA Player of the Year. So we had a lot of expectations, and 10 GA is not a very good representation of what he can be able to achieve. So with 20 starts, 105 points, only 10 GA, I think was a very poor season. But the reason I've gone for Foden in there is I think people are disrespecting him a little bit too much. I'm sure this season with no KDB in there, I think he's going to be the main man for Man City in that midfield position. He's going to play in the 10. I think he's going to have to be the creative spark. He's going to have to take the chains that KDB has left and make this his team because now KDB has left. And I'm sure he can be able to do that. You all know Phil Foden is an amazing player, and I'm sure he can be able to reach the heights that he reached in the season he won the PFA. I expect Foden to have an all-time season as I've written there, looking to have an all-time season, and I think he's going under the radar. And I'm I'm sure during the course of the season, people are going to try and squeeze him into their teams. As people are looking at Haaland as an attacking option, but I generally think Foden is going to have an amazing season. And then to the last and final player in this list of under the radar players is Patrick Dorgu from Manchester United. Of course, had to put a little bit of bias in there, but he has looked very sharp in preseason in the two games they played in preseason. He's been playing further up the pitch in that a bit of left wing position and a left wing back, left wing position. And that's why I've gone for him. He'd get a goal and assist against Bournemouth. He looked very sharp. Even at the back end of last season, he looked very good. Of course, still adapting to the league since he came in mid-season. But I think now it's time to be able to take that left wing back position, left wing position, and make it his position. So I've gone for Patrick Dogo not just because of his attacking return. That I mean, not because of his previous season, but just because I think he's going to have an exceptional season. I think he's going under the radar at 1.8%. I think it is maybe risen a bit because of the performance in the friendly. At 1.8%, I think it's very low for a 4.5 million defender from Manchester United. I think it's a very low ownership value, and it's certainly someone I think to bring into my team just to have a Manchester United player in there. And of course, with the signings of Cunha and Mbuemo, who did have all-time seasons last season, and also expect to be able to get a lot of assists to those two players in there. And of course, you did get an assist for Hoyland, and maybe United will also be going for someone like Sesko, so it's something to consider as well. And I think Dogo is going to have an all-time season. Maybe not an all-time season, but he's going to have a very good season full of assists and maybe some few goals in there as well. So is that some suddenly under the radar? So these are seven players who I think have gone under the radar in people's drafts this season, who I think are going to have very good seasons, judging from their previous seasons, judging on their talent, and judging on systems with the new managers and things like that. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with this list, and also if you think there's another radar player. Let me know down in the comments as well, and I'll be able to check out the stats. And yeah, this is going to be another long video, but I think it's a very good video and a very good concept. Let me also know if you like this style of videos. Planning to do more and more of this throughout the season. So let me know if you like it as well by leaving a like and a comment and also subscribing on the video. If you managed to reach this far, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all guys later. Bye bye.